Have you ever noticed how a familiar song can, instantly transport you back to a specific time and place,
Yeah.
bringing back a rush of emotions you might have thought were long forgotten?
It is pretty remarkable.
It's almost as if you've stepped into a different reality for a moment.
It's like catching a glimpse of another version of ourselves in our lives.
That's precisely what we're exploring today as we take a deep dive into Chapter 14 of Reality Transurfing.
Yeah.
Forward to the past.
Right.
This chapter delves into the fascinating idea of moving through different realities, but not in a way you might expect.
Not a typical time travel chapter.
Right.
This book by Vadim Zeland introduces this unique concept of transurfing,
Okay.
which suggests that we can consciously navigate these alternative realities or sectors to manifest our desires.
Okay.
It's not about time travel in the conventional sense,
Yeah.
but rather shifting our perception to align with a reality that's more in tune with our goal.
Okay, so we're talking about realities that already exist.
Exactly.
Not creating them from scratch.
Think of it like tuning into a different radio frequency.
Okay.
The stations are already broadcasting. We simply need to adjust our dial to pick up a different signal. These sectors are essentially parallel versions of reality,
Okay.
each with its own set of circumstances, its own unique script, if you will.
So how do we actually tune in to these different sectors?
That's a great question.
I'm intrigued, but also a bit skeptical.
Understandably.
Yeah.
That's where the technique of transaction comes in.
Okay.
It's a method Zeland describes for perceiving these shifts between sectors.
Okay.
And it involves 3 key elements.
Okay.
Turning the key,
Mm-hmm.
visualizing your target slide,
Okay.
and cultivating clear sight.
Okay, let's break that down.
All right.
What does turning the key entail?
Imagine it as an energy exercise.
Okay.
You focus on your body's central meridians,
Mm-hmm.
consciously releasing any tension you might be holding.
Okay.
It's about getting into a relaxed, receptive state, much like meditation.
So it's about creating the right inner environment
Yeah,
to be more open to these shifts in perception.
precisely.
Okay.
You're essentially activating the energy flows within your body to become more attuned to the subtle nuances of these different realities.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
And what about the target slide?
This is where you get to be the director of your own reality show.
Okay.
It involves vividly visualizing the specific sector you want to align with.
Okay.
You engage all your senses,
Uh,
imagining yourself fully immersed in that reality.
right.
What do you see?
Okay.
Hear, feel, even smell.
Okay.
The more detailed and emotionally charged your visualization, the stronger the pull towards that sector becomes.
It's like creating a blueprint for the reality you desire, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And it goes beyond simply picturing it in your mind.
Yeah.
You want to truly feel it as if you're already there experiencing it in the present moment.
Right. So we've turned the key
Right.
and envisioned our target.
What's this clear sight all about?
This is where things get truly interesting.
Okay.
Once you've prepared yourself with the first 2 steps,
Yeah.
you simply gaze ahead with a heightened awareness, observing your surroundings without judgment or analysis.
Okay.
As you shift between sectors,
Yeah.
Zeland suggests you'll start noticing subtle changes in your perception,
Okay.
almost like slight variations in the scenery.
So it's not like things suddenly look drastically different.
Not usually.
Okay. What kind of changes are we talking about?
Think of it like looking at old photographs.
Okay.
Have you ever noticed how a person's face, even at the same age,
Yeah.
can have a different quality or energy in photos taken at different times? Perhaps a different sparkle in their eyes?
Yeah.
Or a slight shift in their posture?
Yes, I've noticed that.
Right.
It's like their inner state is somehow reflected in the photograph.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the concept of shades that Zeland introduces.
Okay.
It's about noticing these subtle nuances,
Yeah.
these variations in the feel of things as you move between sectors.
Okay.
It's like each reality has its own unique filter, a subtle difference in the way things appear and feel.
Yeah.
It's almost as if each sector has its own distinct atmosphere or energy signature.
So these shades are like clues that we're actually shifting between realities. That's
Okay.
a really intriguing way to think about it.
And Zeland emphasizes that these shifts aren't about physically traveling back in time,
Oh, okay.
but rather returning to a particular state of being, a feeling,
Yeah.
a vibration that might have gotten lost or diluted along the way.
You mentioned earlier that these sectors have different scripts.
Right.
Does that mean our lives are predetermined?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And it gets to the heart of what transurfing is all about.
Okay.
Zeland argues that while these scripts exist, we have the power to choose which one we align with.
Okay.
He talks about these external forces he calls pendulums.
Mm-hmm.
Think of them as societal expectations.
Cultural norms. Even our own limiting beliefs that can pull us off track from our true desires.
So it's not about erasing challenges or difficulties,
Right.
but about shifting our relationship to them.
Exactly.
Okay.
Imagine a surfer riding a wave.
Okay.
They don't try to control the ocean,
Mm-hmm.
but rather learn to flow with its energy, adjusting their movements to stay balanced and in harmony with the wave.
Right.
Transurfing is about developing that same kind of fluidity and adaptability in our lives.
I love that analogy.
It's a good one.
It makes this whole concept feel less daunting
Yeah.
and more empowering.
That's the essence of it.
Yeah.
It's about reclaiming our power to choose,
Mm-hmm.
to navigate the waves of life with more awareness and intention.
Okay, but how do we practically apply this in our daily lives?
Well,
It's one thing to understand these concepts intellectually,
right.
but quite another to actually put them into practice.
Zealand emphasizes the importance of consistent practice. He suggests incorporating these techniques into your daily routine,
Mm-hmm.
much like brushing your teeth or taking a shower.
Okay.
Start by cultivating that relaxed, receptive state by turning the key whenever you feel tension building up.
So it's like a reset button for our energy,
Yeah, you could say that.
helping us detach from those pendulums that are trying to pull us off course.
Exactly.
And then, of course, there's the visualization aspect.
Right.
The more vividly you can connect with the feeling of your desired reality,
Mm-hmm.
the stronger the pull towards it becomes.
For sure.
Zealand even recommends using old photographs as a tool for this.
He does.
Photographs,
Yeah.
how do those fit into this whole picture?
He suggests looking at pictures of yourself
Yeah.
from times when you felt closer to your goals
Okay.
or when you embodied a particular energy you want to reclaim.
Hmm.
It's about triggering that feeling,
Yeah.
that sense of possibility,
Okay.
and bringing it into the present moment.
That's fascinating. It's like using visual anchors to remind us of what's possible,
Mm-hmm.
to reconnect with that version of ourselves who was more aligned with our desires.
Precisely.
Yeah.
It helps solidify the connection to your target slide,
Okay.
making it more real, more tangible.
Mm-hmm.
You're essentially choosing a filter for your reality,
Yeah.
focusing on the aspects that resonate with your goals.
That's a powerful concept.
It is.
So by practicing these techniques, we can actually start shifting towards those more favorable lifelines.
Right.
Those realities that are a better match for who we truly are.
That's the essence of transurfing.
Okay.
It's not about forcing things to happen, but rather aligning ourselves with the flow of possibilities that already exist.
So the key is to detach from the outcome,
Yes.
not get too fixated on controlling every detail.
Exactly.
about-
Remember, the more importance we attach to things,
Yeah.
the more resistance we create.
Okay.
Zealand cautions against getting too attached to specific outcomes
Mhm.
or becoming overly boastful about our goals.
It's almost like the universe has a way of humbling us when we get too far ahead of ourselves.
Right.
Yeah.
It's about finding that delicate balance between intention and allowing action and surrender.
So what's the biggest takeaway for our listeners today? What's the one thing they should walk away with from this deep dive?
The power of choice.
Okay.
You always have a choice in how you relate to the world, to your circumstances,
Yeah.
even to your own past.
And by making conscious choices,
Yes.
we can start to steer ourselves towards a reality that's more aligned with our deepest desires,
Mm-hmm.
a reality where we can thrive.
Precisely. It's not about denying the challenges or pretending everything is perfect,
Right.
but rather approaching them with a different mindset.
Okay.
Instead of getting caught up in the drama and resistance,
Yeah.
we can choose to see them as opportunities for growth and learning.
This reminds me of Zealand's analogy of the world as a mirror.
Okay.
He suggests that the reality we experience is a reflection of our own internal state.
That's a powerful concept to consider.
Yeah.
If we approach life with a sense of struggle and discontent, that's often what we'll encounter. But if we can cultivate a sense of acceptance, even gratitude for what is,
Yeah.
we might find that the world reflects that back to us.
So it's not about passively accepting everything that happens to us,
No.
but rather shifting our perspective,
Right.
choosing to see things through a different lens.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's about recognizing that we always have a choice in how we respond to our circumstances.
Yeah.
We can choose to react with fear, anger, or resentment,
Right.
or we can choose to approach them with curiosity, openness, and a willingness to learn.
That makes a lot of sense.
Good.
But what about those times when things really do seem to fall apart? When it feels like the universe is conspiring against us?
Yeah.
How does transurfing apply in those situations?
Zealand would say that those moments are often a sign that we've strayed too far from our target line,
Okay.
that we've gotten caught up in the drama of those external pendulums and lost sight of our true desires.
So instead of seeing those setbacks as failures,
Yeah.
we can view them as opportunities to course correct.
Precisely.
Yeah.
They're like wake-up calls nudging us back towards a path that's more aligned with who we are and what we truly want. It's about recognizing that we're not always going to get things right.
Right.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
The key is to learn from those experiences and keep moving forward.
This has been such an insightful exploration.
I agree.
It's really shifted my perspective on how much power we have to shape our reality.
It is pretty amazing.
To wrap things up for our listeners,
Okay.
can you remind us of the key takeaways from Forward to the Past?
Of course, first remember that nostalgia isn't just a sentimental feeling.
Right.
It can be a powerful tool for reconnecting with the state of being that's more aligned with your goals.
Okay.
Tap into those memories of when you felt closer to your dreams
Yeah.
and use that energy to fuel your journey forward.
And second, start incorporating the transaction technique into your daily life.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Practice turning the key to release tension and create a receptive state. Vividly visualize your target slide, connecting with the feeling of already being in that desired reality.
Right.
And then pay attention to those subtle shades in the scenery.
Yeah.
Those hints that you're shifting between sectors.
And most importantly, remember the power of choice.
Okay.
You always have a choice in how you relate to the world, to your circumstances, and even to your own past. Embrace the journey with curiosity and an open mind and see what unfolds.
This deep dive has given us so much to think about and explore.
It has.
If the world is indeed a mirror reflecting our relationship to it,
Right.
what happens when we choose to approach it with gratitude and acceptance instead of struggle?
That is the question.
That's something to ponder as you experiment with the principles of transurfing and discover the freedom that comes with consciously shaping your reality.
Thank you for joining us on this journey.
Yes. Thank you so much for being here.
Remember, you are the architect of your own experience.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep choosing the reality that best reflects your truest self.